Before we begin the episode, I would like to thank our sponsor, Chin Up Goggles, the latest vision restriction sport training aid. The goggles eliminate your downward vision, encouraging you to constantly look outward, making it the ideal training accessory for you and your teammates. You can find them on social media at Chin Up Goggles or their website chinupgoggles.com, which will be linked in the description box below. Now, let's get into the episode. Welcome back to the Sideline Live podcast. You can follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at the Sideline Live. We'd love to hear from you. On episode 33, I am delighted to be joined by 11-time All-Ireland winner, former Ladies Player of the Year and one of my favourite players growing up, Bríd Stack. On this episode we discuss her career, the success and culture of the Cork Ladies football team, AFLW, business and so much more. I hope you enjoy. Hi Bríd, thanks a million for coming on the podcast.
Thanks a million, Orla, and good to be here. I've seen plenty of the podcasts in the past, so you're doing great stuff.
Oh, thanks a million. Delighted to have you on. I'm a true Dove at heart, but I did grow up watching the likes of yourself, Valier Mulcahy. I never root for Cork, but these are some of my idols growing up.
You're showing my age, so Orla.
Talk us through some of the underage teams. I'm interested to hear, starting off with Cork, were you always kind of a starter, kind of a go-to player from early on?
Yes, so I suppose when I grew up, I would have specialised in a couple of sports. So I loved football and obviously badminton as well. So badminton would have been a big sport in my local community. So I would have played that since I was small. And then when I went to secondary school, I took up basketball and did a small bit of athletics as well. So I suppose kept my options open when I was younger and made kind of my first Cork team, I suppose, when I was under 14. So just kind of when I had entered into secondary school, but made sure I kept up all the other sports and really, really enjoyed them. And then I suppose when I got to the age of 18 and I was first year in college, I suppose, I made the decision to kind of specialise and kind of went just for the just down the football route. But in the early days, under 14, it was just the coming together of a great bunch of people. I think when we were under 14, I think Cork had lost the under 14 previous to when kind of a gang of us came on the scene. So there was myself, Narita Kelly, there would have been Rena, Bríd, there would have been a massive amount of us. Say Angela would have been the year ahead of us, but there was a good shot kind of a very good young underage team at under 14. And we won an All Ireland that year. And thankfully I kind of got my place and was able to retain it. And just moved up through the ranks. Then I was under 16 then for 2 years, and I was minor for 2 years, and captained the minor team my first year minor as well. So we had a great bunch that stuck together for 6 or 7 years, and thankfully a lot of us hold tough and went into the senior ranks then as well. So there was a brilliant friendship, I suppose, from very, very early on, and it was lovely. I suppose I went to secondary school in Abbeyfield in County Limerick, so across the border for secondary school. But it was but it was lovely to have all my school friends and then have like this completely different set of friends with Cork, and just absolutely loved it. And I suppose like that, as I said, I just kept playing sport throughout secondary school and just lived for it. And I went to a convent as well, so it was an all-girls school, and all the girls be sneaking downtown, at lunchtime, to meet the boys and get in an all shift and stuff. I was just pure obsessed with sport, that myself and a couple of the girls would just stay around playing basketball or kicking around the ball and stuff. And God help us, we didn't develop for years, but we were happy out and just loved sport so much. I think it was just so immersed in sports during my teenage years, just loved it.
Yeah, I love the way you mentioned there, kind of not specialising until you were 18 and in college. Was there pressure from early on to specialise maybe in Gaelic football?
No, not at all. And I think the way sport was back then, it was nearly encouraged that you played as much sport as possible and you got out as much as possible. And I suppose I loved back in the day when there wasn't any requirements put on you. I see so many of the younger girls these days in the last couple of years, especially I suppose as a teacher myself, a couple of years back, I would have seen a lot of girls that were probably on county teams and that weren't allowed to play school games. And I just couldn't couldn't ever get my head around it because we were never ever put in that position. And I think every girl just wants to go out and play as much sport as possible. And you go out and train so that you can play games. You don't go to training so you can just train. And it was the playing of the games that we all absolutely loved. So I loved, I suppose, in the past that we had that opportunity to play as much sport as we wanted, and everything was really encouraged. And mom and dad would have been 2 taxis for the 3 of us here at home, but they wouldn't have it any other way, and they championed us going off as many days of the week as possible and staying as fit and healthy as possible. So
brilliant. Yeah, I'm interested to hear, is there anything like you did at a younger age that, or maybe something you do consistently now, that you attribute your ability or your success to? Like you spoke about there, not specialising in sport, you were out what sounds like every day of the week, a couple of times a day. Is there anything really specific that you kind of look back and you just say, oh, that was brilliant, like that really, really helped me?
I definitely think going into team sport and going into individual sport was very important, and I did both of those with the ladies football, I suppose, and the badminton. They were probably the 2 standout. I was playing on the Cork team as well with badminton, so I loved badminton as well. But it was gas as the years went on. I really definitely gravitated more towards the team sport, and I think it was important to test out the individual sport as well and see that maybe it wasn't fully for me, and I felt maybe a better sense of belonging, or I felt happier in myself with team sport. So I definitely think specialising is vital, but I think specialising in a range of different sports that are definitely different, so like the team and the individual, I think that was important for me as a younger girl. That is kind of, you're kind of trying to find your way a small bit when you're a teenage girl, and definitely I think the 2 of them lended for me to be a lot more assured of myself kind of when I got to 18, 19. Yeah.
I'm interested when you said like the individual and team sport. I'm someone involved in GA and basketball, so I would hate the kind of pressure that comes with individual sports because I love the team environment, and like just being in part of a team, like if something goes wrong, you have your teammates, but I would crumble under that individual pressure.
Geez, I don't know, would you? Like, it's probably when you're in it, you're probably just so used to it, like, but so I grew up playing badminton, and I suppose I grew up playing singles and then doubles and mixed doubles. So like I actually prefer the singles than playing in the doubles, because in the singles I could actually take if I made the mistake, whereas like I would find it difficult letting down just one other person if I made a mistake in the doubles. But as the years went on, I definitely found that I was way happier. I was bouncing in the door to football training, whereas, not that it was a slog, and I attribute badminton so much to having good footwork and having kind of, I suppose I had a quick kind of turn of pace off maybe my first 10 meters, and I would have put that down to kind of the quick, you need to be on your toes a lot for badminton. And then with the basketball, definitely your awareness is improved massively. So I definitely attribute all those to helping me in team sport. But I think I always gravitated more towards the team sport because it can be very lonely, and you have to be very, very self-motivated in the individual sport. And I don't know. It just didn't have the same. It didn't have the same crack either. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely gravitated more towards that. Yeah.
With your senior debut for Cork, you were 16 years of age. Talk us through that. That must have been a pretty big moment at such a young age as well.
Yeah, well, I suppose look, it's different to how it is nowadays. I suppose the Cork senior team was struggling. Kind of like, there were girls kind of in and out. They didn't have any kind of set panel. It wasn't, I suppose it wasn't a great structure really back then. Whereas our underage structure was excellent. They had put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into it. That we had excellent coaches. We had Charlie McLaughlin and Father Liam Kelleher that guided us through from under 14 up to minor. And I suppose, because there were girls in and out a lot of time with the seniors, they looked towards a lot of the younger players who maybe had, and in saying that, we were very young, but we had probably a good system, or I suppose we worked a system with the underage teams, which was good. But when you're under 16 and getting called in to play against women, like these girls were women. I remember playing against Clare, and I was looking at these like, I was there going, I'm going to get murdered here. Like, you know, just keep running away, kind of keep your distance a small little bit there and try to read the ball as much as you can. But sure, it was a wonderful experience and it brought us on massive amount. But I suppose the big thing as well back then is all under 16 players, like a lot of under 14 players, if they were playing club, they were playing adult for their club as well, you know. So I remember playing junior club when I was 12, and we went up and we won a junior All-Ireland when I was 12. We won an intermediate All-Ireland with the club when I was 13, and we were up senior when I was 14. So I was playing senior football with our club when we were 14.
Wow.
But that was just the norm. Like, it's nothing.
Yeah.
It was nothing out of the blue for any of the girls that were playing with Cork at that time. So people were used to playing with, you know, you were used to going in as a massive underdog and being a bit slighter, but it probably made you a bit hardier in the long run. So it probably stood to us, you know.
Yeah, I think the game has probably moved on a little bit from that. I know welfare issues. I don't think any 16-year-olds are allowed to play senior. Like, what do you?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that's gotten rid of it. Like, it just seems like the game has really progressed in the last 20 years that they don't have to call on 14 and 16-year-olds to play senior intercounty.
Yeah, I suppose it's down to numbers as well. Like, when I was younger, we didn't have the numbers. So like, I come from a very rural village in North Cork called Rockchapel, and you know, we would have had, I'd say, 17, 18 players max on a senior team, and like two of those are, like, I remember, even I don't know how many championship games even we could have had 13 players, and you drive well, I wouldn't drive, but like, you'd get someone to drive to a local girl's house, and she could be only 12 years of age, and you'd be nearly dragging her out the door to fill in 2 slots. Like, go in there, 2 corner forwards, stay out, stay away from the ball, but like, we need to fulfill the fixture, like, you know. And that was just the way of it back then. Whereas now, I suppose girls are growing up even under 6s, under 8s, under 10s, and they have full teams. And it's brilliant that there are now places that girls can go and have a full team. Whereas when we were growing up, we didn't have a full team, I suppose, until we were under 14, really, you know. So it's brilliant that the game has evolved that way, and that it's so easy for young girls to fall in with a local club, and that so many clubs all over Ireland have ladies football clubs now. It's wonderful to see.
Absolutely. Even I'm thinking of the All-Ireland finals. I think my first one was in 2005, and looking at how the attendance has progressed, I think even 2013 I was there, and it was only the lower Cusack and Hogan. The lower Davin was still closed. Now you're looking, and apart from COVID 2019, I think part of the upper Cusack was open. What's that like for you, like, going as a player now, transitioning to after as a player, to see the growth and the support for the game?
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. And I suppose I still remember back to our first All-Ireland in 2005, and I thought there was an absolutely, like, crazy crowd at it. Like, I couldn't get over the sea of red and maroon that we were looking at playing Galway. And when I look back now, like, it was probably half it was half of what was there probably, you know, in last year's All-Ireland final. But like, what I'll never forget is like that final whistle going, and the sea of red and white that ran onto the pitch. Like, my neighbours, family, friends, like, people, like, travelled from all over Cork to come up and ran out onto Croke Park. And it's just something, like, I suppose you'd have a little bit of a tear in your eye thinking about it, because it's something that's not done anymore. And it's just so wonderful for players when you get to meet your family, or meet your friends, or meet your grandparents, or whatever it is, on Croke Park's turf. Like, you know, it's something that is truly wonderful, and something we definitely hold so dear, remembering that 2005 final.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Was that probably... I don't like asking what your favourite All-Ireland is, because I get the sense that every All-Ireland medal is like a new journey. But does that... your first one, what I've tended to hear was, it really just stands out in your mind as the first All-Ireland win. Yeah,
your first one will always, there'll be very hard to surpass, because it was so new to us, and something so special. And as I said, that running out onto Croke Park, and being able to meet people after the final whistle was wonderful. And then as the years progressed, I suppose that final whistle became very special, because it meant that you were only just meeting the girls that you had trained with since January on the pitch, and you had those couple of moments to yourselves, which was so special. And I'll never forget the 2007 final as well. That was really special, because we had, I suppose, had this upward trajectory for a couple of years. We had beaten Galway in 2005, we'd beaten Armagh in 2006, and we were coming up against Mayo in 2007. And Mayo, I suppose, since we had started and since, even before we won our first All-Ireland, Mayo were the absolute queens of football, at the time. And I suppose we really didn't see that, you weren't kind of on top really until you had beaten Mayo and beaten them kind of comprehensively. And I suppose for that All-Ireland, for everything to have gone as well as it did for us on that day, and for everything to have clicked. And I think we put in a 60-minute performance that, you couldn't say looking at any of the other All-Irelands that, that a team never got a purple patch. And I think that one was the most complete performance by our team. So that one I hold very dear as well. And then obviously the comeback one in 2014 was the stuff of dreams, like, the stuff you'd hope that they'd be a movie made about in years to come. Like, it was.
You have to mention the Dublin one, don't you, Bríd? Yeah. Get the digs in there. All right.
Come here. You have to give it that one now. Like, it's gone the other way now at the moment. You're on top at the moment. So we'll try to remember fondly anyway. But the 2014 one, like, I'll never, ever, as long as I live, when I'm old and grey, I'll remember that day. And it was just stuff of dreams.
Yeah, I remember it well. I just want to talk about the culture in that group, and you spoke about that first All-Ireland. At the time, did you realise like how successful this group would have been? Was there those crumbs that were kind of left at the time where you said, oh, look, we're really onto something and we're going to go on a roll here? Or was it just take every season as it is?
So when Eamon first initially took over in 2004, I suppose we were coming into a senior team having been very successful underage. But then we were greeted with a lot of girls like Juliet Murphy, Nulla Cleary, Elaine Hart, Valerie, who hadn't had even a small bit of success at senior level. So I think the merging of those two sets of players was vitally important, and it kept us completely grounded. Not that we were ever flighty or anything like that, but I suppose that as 18-year-olds, sometimes you think you know it all, and like we needed people that were completely grounded, and that's what those girls were. And then to match that with someone like Eamon, who was probably the most humble and grounded person that I've ever met. He was just phenomenal for our team. And after the first All-Ireland, sure, God bless us, I'd say he thought that we were never going to darken the football field again. We were stuck in every pub in every village in Cork. Like, he was like, how am I going to get these back out onto the football fields in January? But like, success breeds success, and momentum is just a wonderful thing. And when you get a taste of it, by God, you want to keep it. And we did that the next year. And it was just, I suppose, after the second one, he kind of was stressing to us. He was like, it's a good team wins one, and you're after proving now that you're a good team, and like, let's see how far we can take it. And but I do think it's so important to have someone like Eamon, and I don't think if anyone else was involved with us, we wouldn't have continued it for as long as we did, and people wouldn't have stayed around for as long as they did.
Wow, yeah, I was going to ask about Eamon, and you spoke before, he got the best out of everyone. He made you feel 10 foot tall, and he didn't single out anyone. How did he do that? And just talk us through his leadership. And I know, God rest him, he passed away recently, but you all speak so highly of him. Just give us a bit of insight into him as a person and as a coach.
Yeah, like that, sure. Look, I suppose everyone has their woes, and he was very, very empathetic to everyone having their own problems. But I suppose he just asked us kind of very early on that we all park our woes at the door, at the gate, and that we go out and we train our hearts out. And I suppose we did that every single training session for nearly 12 years. And I suppose there was just a real sense that he always had your back. And I think when you trust your coach like that, and he gives you ownership and he gives you responsibility like he did, and he gave it to us from a very, very young age, it only builds your character and it builds the group's character. And there was just an immense amount of respect, an immense amount of trust in that group. And yeah, something that is very, very hard to duplicate, and very, very hard to express, I suppose, to someone that's, if you're not in it, and I suppose we always feel very privileged that we get to share all these great memories now together, because that group knows exactly what he did for our group.
Yeah, I love the way you spoke about the kind of mentality he brought and the mentality of the team. You said you're only as good as your last game. That was something that he really preached to the team.
Yeah, Yeah, often. And like 'twas gas, he wouldn't be one for praising us, but by God, if you got a pat on your back, you could nearly run through a wall, like, and he would just be the gentlest of things like that, or he there was never ever an issue where he would ever berate anyone. He would never single out someone for being very poor. He would never single out someone for being excellent. You were just on a constant even keel with him. And like, he treated Juliet Murphy, our captain, the same way he might have treated number 30 on our subs bench, and that was just the way he was. Like, his legacy, I think, and the way we speak about him, I think that tells a lot about, how, I suppose, we all want to conduct ourselves going forward, and just, I suppose, how he made everyone feel was very, very important.
Definitely. I'm interested to hear about the Cork setup overall. You spoke about it was very close to being professional without sort of the label, and at the time that would have been very, like, kind of what I'm trying to reference towards now. It would have been probably was ahead of his time in creating that culture, because ladies football, we're only kind of seeing that now, really.
Yeah, he was. And I suppose the fact he came from the men's side of things, he saw a lot of things that maybe he was questioning, like that the lads got so much more than we did. But I suppose there wasn't the financial backing that the lads had. But like, I still remember there's a picture of our first, before our first All Ireland. There's the last training session before our first All Ireland, and we now, some of us look fairly solid. Like, I remember being back, like, in that, oh my God, we were fairly solid girls. Like, we all leaned out as the years went on, but that first picture. But we're all there. It's the week before our very first All Ireland. The look on our faces, it was a picture taken, after our last training session. There wasn't a single matching jersey. There was no kind of training gear. Everyone was just beaming from ear to ear, and just the look of hope on our eyes. And it was just the most fabulous photo. And, I know things have progressed so much, but, like, I suppose that feeling is what it's all about. You don't need all the fancy stuff. You just need that belief and that hope and that trust and everything in each other. But as it went on, it did progress, and it did get very, very professional, and our diets changed, and our pre-match rituals changed, our warm-ups changed. Like, it was just, I suppose, and the sport changed too. Like, it was, it became more tactical, and it became faster, and it meant that you had to change the kind of athlete you were. But I suppose Eamon always referenced that, you can make anyone fit, but you need to be a good footballer at the end of the day, and then you can get fit. So he put such emphasis on the basics and getting the basics right. And I suppose the biggest thing, and I suppose I've taken it into my own teaching, that I've learned from him, is the importance of perceived competence. And, like, if you can get someone to believe that they are good at what they're doing, and that they have the skills, and that that you can build on a confidence from that. I just think that's so important. And I suppose as a PE teacher, I would definitely put value on getting the fundamental skills right. And, that breeds enjoyment. If you're if you feel you can do something and do a skill, you're going to enjoy doing it more. You're going to practice more. You're going to get better at it, and you're going to enjoy, I suppose, the game then that it leads into. So perceived competence was something that he really championed, and it definitely stood to us. And all the stuff that came alongside of it, he was very quick to kind of, not to dismiss it, but to kind of park it. And it wasn't the be all and end all. And, like, we were there to play football, but if we got a free jersey out of it, church was mighty. Do you know, that kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I love the way you referenced there the basics and the fundamentals. That's something that Brian Fenton spoke about on a podcast a while ago. I had it clipped recently, but he spoke about if he was a coach, he would just do the fundamentals. And that seems to be the reason why the Dublin Senior Men's, with a number of other reasons why they have so much success, is they just constantly practice the fundamentals.
100%. And you see it with Dublin, you see it with kind of the Kerry team now coming through. Like, their skill set is just absolutely phenomenal. And if you have that basic skill set, all you're doing then on top of that is getting fitness top drawer, you're getting your strength top drawer, you're getting your recovery top drawer, but you need that basic skill set. It's a skill-based game at the very end of the day, and, like, that is your bread and butter. And I suppose, look, that's what he did for us, and I just couldn't thank the man enough for what he did for us.
Talking about training there, I only found out recently, but for a while you didn't have a club team, or you weren't involved in a club team, so you had to train by yourself. Talk us through a bit of that and what you would have done by yourself.
Yeah, so I suppose, look, yeah, our like my home club would be Rockchapel, and as I said, our numbers were extremely low, very, very early on into us going up senior. And unfortunately, it came to a stage where the under 12s wouldn't come out with us anymore.
They were
So
scared of you.
a lot of girls moved away, like got older. Girls had to move away for work. There were girls moved up to Dublin, things like that, and yeah, the team had to disband. So it was very, very like upsetting time, because these are people you grew up with, and we had such success with. Like, we'd won a junior All Ireland and intermediate All Ireland, and I suppose you think it's going to go on forever, and unfortunately, due to how rural we were, we just couldn't keep the thing going. So we joined up with a kind of a local club that were junior, and were very, very excited with us to come on board with them until they kind of realized, I suppose, what a jump up to senior meant, and it probably turned off a lot of the girls. So unfortunately, that club disbanded as well. And I suppose there was a good 7 years kind of there, where, no, I suppose, yeah, 7. No, 5, I suppose. There was 5 years probably where I didn't play club football, because of that club disbanding. And yeah, so it was very, very tough. But I suppose, thankfully, look, I had very good teammates, and I'd meet up with different ones, and yeah, that was all I had to do. I had to just get out and do it. And you didn't come to Cork training to get fit. Like, you had to be kind of fit coming to Cork training, and because of the emphasis on the skills. So it was very much skill-based training. And if you weren't fit, like, it was up to you to kind of get yourself right in the off time. So yeah, I just do a lot of extra work on my own, and I suppose, look, that probably built a bit of resilience in me, and probably made me that little bit I suppose more determined to make sure I kept my place, or to get my place first of all, and to keep my place. Because early on in the 2004 season, I wasn't making my place. I had to, I suppose it took until maybe the All Ireland semi-final for me to actually nail down that cornerback slot. And thankfully, after that, like, I got my place in the All Ireland final in 2004, and worked very hard, I suppose, then for the next while to try to keep my place. And thankfully, I played in every All Ireland after that. But I may not have had if I didn't probably do that initial hard work at the start when we didn't have that club.
Yeah, I'm interested here as well. Just I can hear like the motivation and the drive you have there. But were you more motivated by success or fear of failure at that time?
Oh, not being, I suppose, not letting down my teammates was the biggest thing. As I said, I had probably grown up with all those girls under 14, under 16, under 18. I knew how good they were. I knew if I didn't keep up my fitness, or if I didn't keep trying as hard as I could, I was going to fall behind. I definitely didn't want to fall behind. I wanted to be in the mix. I wanted to be in with the pack. And as I said, the enjoyment comes with being heavily involved in it. I didn't want to sit on the sidelines. So yeah, look, that was definitely motivation enough, looking at the likes of Juliet and Nullig and all them pulling the strings in the middle, and then the rest of us just making sure that we were keeping up to their high standards was very, very important.
Mm-hmm. I had messaged a couple of people asking them for questions because I knew you were coming on, and someone told me a story. They were on their J1 in the US. I think you're on a holiday and you ended up training with their club team. Do you remember this at all? Or
that was in 2017. Yeah, were they girls from the north by any chance?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I was over in San Fran in 2017. So in 2016, I got married in December, and I actually wasn't going to go back playing Cork football in 2017. So we booked to go away for a couple of weeks in the summer and just enjoy it, like whatever. And sure, then I started kind of getting a bit lonesome and wanting to get back in with Cork and stuff like that. So went back training in 2017, late in 2017. But I had told Aoife, I suppose, early on that I had this holiday planned. But look, it wasn't a drinking holiday. I was going over to see my husband's brother and to meet up with them and to do a bit of Yosemite and do a bit of touring and stuff like that. And so we did that, and I trained the whole time I was over there. And while I was over there anyway, the crowd from the San Fran, oh my God, Fog City Harps got onto me and said, "Here, we hear you're in San Fran. Will you do you want to come out and do a training session?" So I was like, "Yeah, no bother. Like, I'll come out and join in." and rocked on anyway over, and next thing I was laced up the boots anyway. I was like, geez, Les, there's a massive crowd here for training. You've huge numbers. And she was like, oh no, there's some girl coming to train us. So we said we'd all rock on. And I was like, all right. Next thing I found out that I was training 40 girls and I wasn't allowed to join in. I was actually doing the training session. So like, oh my God, it was tough going anyway, but they had plenty balls and plenty cones. But I remember being so nervous at the start of the warm-up that I was demonstrating like to run out and back and ran out, and when I was backing back I fell over myself. So I'd say the girls are like, this one can't even run, like, and she's giving us the training session. But yeah, so that was a right blow to the ego, but sure enough, it was grand. And we did the training session and we had great crack, and like I'm still very good friends with some of those girls that I met, like, so it was great fun. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, I didn't know you'd fallen over. She didn't tell me that bit. But, do you want everyone to hear that? But like you spoke about there, you'd won All Irelands at under 14, under 16, 2 at minor. You were captain. And you played every minute of every final in which you were successful with Cork. What does it actually take to get to that level and to that consistency?
It takes a good team. Like, there's actually no more about it. Like, it takes a good team, and I suppose a lot of those people on that team coming together, they were all massively intrinsically motivated. They didn't need external motivation. They didn't need like a stadium full of people. They were just completely committed to Cork, completely committed to putting, I suppose, everything else aside, making winning choices, and I suppose then being able to celebrate them was the biggest thing. And it's funny, while we did train extremely hard, Eamon always made such a point of us enjoying our successes. Mm-hmm. And like he travelled to a good shot at the pubs now with us as well, like, so it wasn't like we were left out on our own. And he was a good man for a sing song and a good man for a small glass as well, like, you know. So like we had the best time, I suppose, all together. And the fact that, like, you know, we could all socialise together was a big thing, like ourselves and Frankie and Eamon, and like they were old enough to be our grandparents, but sure, like we had the best crack with them, and the sing songs and everything, like they were the stories that when you came back in January and February, and when it was just misery and misfortune, they were the stories that kept you going for that time. And wouldn't it be great if we did it again, like, and wouldn't it be great if we could get back to that? And I suppose the biggest thing was we always kind of had a little bit of doubt in ourselves.
Okay.
Not a massive amount of doubt, but I think you need that little bit of doubt because it keeps you kind of grounded, and it kind of keeps you going. Like, if we drop our standards here even a small bit, we're going to get caught. And I think in 2010 we left a little bit of complacency creep into our group, which never ever happened before. And I think after that we had a meeting after we got knocked out. We had a meeting maybe a couple of months later, and by God, that was the last time we ever said we'd allow complacency to come into our camp. So you know, while, you know, it was a blip probably on a fantastic career, it was probably the blip that projected us forward for another 5 or 6 years, you know.
Was that time in 2010 probably the lowest time with Cork?
Sure, look, of course was. Like, you know, you're on an upward trajectory, not thinking that it's ever going to change, or not thinking like that, you know, that this is just brilliant. And yeah, like, as I said, that little bit of complacency, like there was two of the girls that went away on holidays that would never, like, we never ever go on holidays. And there were a few people maybe went to concerts, little things, maybe missed training sessions here and there. And like, that was unheard of any other year. So like, you were just a little bit worried, I suppose, in coming in 2010. We had a layoff of 6 weeks after beating Kerry in a Munster final, and 6 weeks of a layoff was a long time before we came into Tyrone, and we just got completely caught. We got ambushed. Tyrone were absolutely brilliant on the day. They bullied us. They were brilliant, and, you know, you couldn't take away from them. They wanted it more, and you know, things didn't go right on the day as well. Like, obviously, Ciara and Geraldine both did their cruciate in that game. I may or may not have gotten sin binned, and
we'll skip over that bit. Yeah,
one of the other girls got sin binned. But like, these things happen, and like, you know, it was in our everything is in your control, and we just didn't control the controllables that year. And cost us. And then I suppose the year after we put right it then. We just made sure we never dropped our standards again.
You spoke about that meeting, and I get the sense for the following success you had with the 6 All-Irelands, was that level of like standard and not letting the complacency creep in, was that driven by the players?
Yeah, completely. I remember at that meeting, Eamon just kind of started the meeting and then kind of said, well, lads, what do you think? And then that was it. And he didn't speak anymore for the rest of the meeting. It was just everyone else chiming in, giving their thoughts, giving how they felt. And it was a fairly raw meeting, like everything was laid out on the table. And it was the best thing probably that ever happened to us,
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple of weeks later, Eamon texted, I'd say he got onto everyone individually and asked were we prepared to go back for the following year. And I'd say it was a resounding yes. I'd say he just got 30 yeses, when are we starting? And that was it. We never spoke of it kind of too much more after that.
And I'm interested, like with those 6 All-Irelands, I'm always really interested in an individual's preparation. Did you have a particular pre-game routine leading up into those All-Ireland finals?
I didn't for most of them. Towards the end, I actually did have to, because I changed from centre back to full back. So like full back is a very specific position, and I had to completely change. Like I would have always had a big running game at centre back, and you don't have to have that quick 10-meter burst. Like it's still important, but it's not a necessity for a centre back. Whereas at full back, if you don't have that 10-meter burst, kind of you're going to be fairly caught out. So I remember before every game, I'd say for the 3 years, I suppose, 3 years, I suppose, that I was full back towards the end of my career. I made sure that I did a warm up before my own warm up, and I would do the warm up, say, before I even went on the bus. It would be just literally, I would just do all my kind of quick activation stuff, and then I would do 10 sprints, like and that was something, I suppose, in my head, if I didn't do those 10 sprints, like that I hadn't kind of ticked a box in my head. So that was something that I definitely did towards the end when I was positioned at fullback.
Okay, that's interesting. And I want to speak about that 2014 All-Ireland final. You spoke about it there, like the half-time, but until 16 minutes were left in the game, heads were dropped, Dublin scored a goal. Talk us through that change in momentum, and as you said, it should be a movie.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like it was like you were literally fearing going, is this it now? Is this lights out? And like even 2014, I think Juliet had retired the end of 2013. And like Juliet was watching it on the sideline. She was doing, I think, analysis for TG Cahir. And like, I suppose all you wanted was for someone like her to come in and nearly grab us by the neck. But I suppose because we had been under her tutorage, and there were plenty of players before her as well, there was enough probably belief in our camp that look, all is not done, but we need to perform. Like we hadn't been left perform for a lot of it, but we definitely hadn't performed to our capabilities. And I suppose when you look over to the sideline and you see Rona Buckley and Emer Scally coming on, and you just knew in your heart that if we have any hope, it's these two need to come on and these two need to bury a goal. And like, I suppose within a couple of minutes, when Rona buried the first goal, like it lit a spark under us that it was like, no, this is back on. Like we're like, just keep plugging away, keep doing the simple things right, keep working hard for each other, keep driving forward, keep putting pressure on their kickouts, keep making them question things, which we did. And I suppose in the 2 or 3 years before that, I suppose we would have always backed our resilience and our mental strength. And I suppose it really came to the fore that day. And, Rona scored a goal. I think she scored a point after that. And Emer Scally getting the goal and burying that goal. Like it was just, there was never going to be a doubt going forward after that second goal went in. And, Geraldine, like that day, like all credit to her, Geraldine missed some probably uncharacteristic uncharacteristic scores that she would have kicked in her sleep with her eyes closed, And that day for her to step up for that last kick, to back herself, to have that belief in herself, to kick the ball over the bar. I don't know how she did it, but like she's just such a mentally strong person. And I suppose that comes, you think back to 2010, Geraldine did her cruciate that day, and she came back more resilient, a more like a stronger, a more accurate, a fitter player. And I think like the icing on the cake was in 2014 when Gerald kicked that final score. Like years of her, like her hard work had just paid off so much, and she got such credit for that. And like it was just the stuff of dreams. Like I'll never ever forget that feeling. Sure, we didn't know what was going on. We were like, it was just unbelievable. If you could bottle it, I tell you, it would keep you young for years.
Brilliant. And you mentioned it there, the mental toughness, and I'm always interested in the conversation. I ran a poll on the Instagram a while ago. If you could break it down, is football more physical or mental?
It depends what way, I suppose, the game is what game you're presented with. If you're going in as an underdog, if you're going in as a hot favorite, like in my head, it's all mental. Like a lot of it is mental. I think everyone is on an even keel in terms of physical and athleticism, and a lot of the skill now, in fairness, is on a fairly even keel. Obviously, look, some are better than others still, and that's grand. But I think mentally, if you have full belief in your team, and if you have this never say die attitude, and your hunger is so insatiable to win a game, like that will carry you a long way. If you doubt yourself to the point where you're nearly like paralyzing yourself with fear that you're going to make a mistake, you're not going to perform to your absolute best. So mindset, I just think, is absolutely massive. And if you have the collective mindset, like, you're unstoppable, you know?
Yeah. I'm interested as well, before those finals, did you get nervous? Was nerves part of your like lead up to the finals, or really any match?
Yeah, we did. Definitely we did. I remember before an All-Ireland semi-final before Galway, it was toward it was 2016, I'd say. And I remember myself and Deirdre Riley, and the two of us now would be fair, like Deirdre Riley definitely anyway, not like she'd be fairly strongly minded now, like she'd even be way more strong minded now than I would be. But like to see Deirdre Riley kind of going, geez, Bríd, I'm nervous about this one, like, and I was like, fucking hell, she's nervous about it. I'm absolutely bricking it. But like I just thought that was the day we could have gotten caught, like, because we had played them in the league final, and it actually got taken to a replay, the league final that year. And we just got over them on the second day out. So I was like, fucking hell, I was like, this is the day now we could get caught by Galway. And like, it was the best thing ever, sitting down beside Deirdre Riley, because she was like, no, not today. It's not it. Like, and like the way she plays on the field, she would just lift any person left or right of her. So I think actions were massive that day. And the mindset, I suppose, we definitely were nervous beforehand, but actions spoke a lot on the field. And you know, once the whistle went, a lot of people put their actions into motion. Mm-hmm. So it was good.
Was 2016, did you realise after that All-Ireland, did you kind of sense that things were coming to a close? And I know you mentioned there you were actually going to retire at the end of that season.
Yeah, I suppose 2016, when I think back on it, was probably the year that we all had to put in the most amount. No, we put in a lot of work in every single year, but there was myself, Rena, Bríd, and Riley that were kind of left from the 2005 team. So there was the four of us there, and I don't know how many times the four of us had to come together throughout that year to keep kind of boosting each other and keep kind of driving each other, keep trying to drive standards of training, keep trying to improve everything as much as possible, because we knew we were really, really under pressure. We had lost so many of our stalwarts. We had lost Eamon. Eamon had stepped down as our manager, and we knew that this was going to be a massive task. And I suppose, look, there was maybe a small bit of not that we ever let too much external kind of influence kind of into us, but like there was all this talk that Eamon Ryan has gone now, and like this is the start now where Cork are going to be under pressure. And it was a poison chalice for Efi, I suppose, taking it over, given that it was such a successful team. So he got very, very good men around him. He brought in a strength conditioning coach, Mike Carroll, and like we ran a lot in many years, like but Mike that year, he absolutely ran us every single every single training session for the last 10 minutes of training, you knew that this running was coming, every single training session. And it built that little bit of resilience in you. You know, the way, like, if you know that there's big running coming, like the rest of your training, not that you'd ever sit back, but you're like thinking about, Jesus Christ, this run at the very end. Whereas early on, we had to park that type of thinking, and we had to say, no, the running is going to be done, but we must drive on our skill set in the middle of training, and then the running, like whatever we've left, you absolutely leave it in the running. So we had to park that early on in that year, and I think that was a massive part of us getting over the line in 2016, because we were extremely fit, but we were a little bit hardened actually as well from the type of training that we did that year. And I suppose the fact that there was 4 of us left, we really wanted to drive it forward as well and just get one more win under the belt, you know.
Totally. You mentioned there the 4 years were left, and obviously a lot of young players had to come through. What advice were you giving those younger players throughout your career as you moved into a role as a leader on the team?
Well, a lot of those girls, and actually probably the majority of those girls, were there under Eamon. They just maybe didn't get not that they didn't get the chance, but like there were players there that you actually could not leave off your team, like the likes of Juliet, Nullig, Angela, Harty. Like they were just out and out players, and like there were so many girls that were so close to the starting team but just couldn't get in past these like brilliant athletes and brilliant players. So you knew that they were like that, maybe a little bit hardened, and that they had kind of, I suppose, they'd learned as much as they possibly could under these players and under Eamon. And when it came the time for them to step up, by God, did they step up. So it was wonderful to see so many of those girls make the big leap in 2016. And, you know, they're still making the leaps now going forward.
Absolutely. So you stepped away after 2017. You had a lovely little boy who we see on the Instagram all the time, and then the opportunity came up with AFLW. I know they had previously knocked on the door. Talk us through that decision and deciding to take a chance at a new sport.
Yeah, well, sure, look, I've kind of said it before. It was just I met Cora after kind of a TG Cahir gig, and she was just asking me would I ever have interest in it. I was asking her how she was getting on, and yeah, it just wasn't on my radar, to be honest. I had retired, was hoping to start a family, didn't know how it would go. And look, thankfully we did welcome a little boy, but we decided to set up our own business, a sports supplements and a health supplements business. And we also branched into gym equipment. So it's called My Core Supplements, and we're based down in Cork. But that was a massive undertaking. There was 4 of us went in as directors, and all 4 of us were teachers as well. But look, no kids' educations got ruined in the immediate setup of it. But it just meant that there was a massive workload attached to it for the first couple of years. And, you know, you're putting in all this work and obviously not getting anything back from a new business for a good couple of years. So it did take a lot out of us, and a new baby and everything like that was obviously plenty to deal with. But it probably wasn't until after I had Cork that, you know, I was happy that obviously things had gone well birth-wise. I had recovered kind of quick enough, and I was able to get back training, and I felt well enough, I suppose, by the February of last year. So, yeah, or 2 years ago, sorry. So, yeah, I suppose I said, look, I'll make contact with Alan and see. So I texted him and said, look, I'm actually not feeling too bad. Does that offer kind of still stand or whatever? And yeah, he was definitely still interested. And I got sent training programs and running programs. And then I suppose the lockdown hit, and had to do a lot of stuff on my own again, which was probably a good old tough graft for me. But sure, look, I felt I was in the shape of my life last year before going over. It was probably the fittest and leanest I've been in a long time. So I was delighted with how I had trained going over to it. I had done a lot of kicking training as well with Mike Curran, who is with AFLW Ireland. So yeah, I'd done a good shot in the build up to it. And then look, obviously we went over, had to quarantine, which wasn't easy. You were kind of just dealt with kind of an exercise bike and small bits of equipment. So everyone's hip flexors were absolutely goosed after coming out of quarantine on the bike. But it was brilliant to meet up with the girls and to meet up with them in person. And sure, look, it was a wonderful, wonderful adventure. Obviously not the start I had hoped for it. But look, that was just the card I was dealt. And it was it was very, very unlucky. So look, I just had to deal with it. And I suppose, look, thankful that I had a bit of resilience in my back pocket, and, we got through it all together. And it really was one of the most remarkable experiences of my life. And I'm delighted that we took the chance,
What was it like going from the elite, the former player of the year, one sport, to a complete beginner in another one?
Oh yeah, rookie. I was called rookie, I don't know how many times, but like that was it. And do you know what, that was a phenomenal challenge. Like it was something that I loved. I loved the prospect of a new challenge. And I suppose I was so content with my career with Cork. I have friends for life that we're actually meeting up this weekend, so it'll be great. But like I was just so content with football. And I suppose maybe there was just a little bit of me saying, you're after being given this opportunity, it would be such a shame not to take it and to see kind of just how it goes and what I was made of. I suppose I still wanted to see if I had a little bit more grit in me. And like I suppose the way I trained last year, I was so proud that I actually went over in the condition that I did. So yeah, it was mighty. I just wish I had taken more photos now, because I was in great shape. I was in great shape last year, and I'm after putting on a couple of Sydney Stone pounds on now, so it's just disaster. But
you were called a rookie. Was there any sort of rookie duties when you're over in Australia? Is that a thing over there?
Oh no, sure, look, they were just taking the piss out of me and my accent. Now, thankfully, my accent isn't as bad as Cora's, so at least she got way more of the slack. And they found me, so it was grand, like, oh, sure, it was hilarious. So everyone was just picking on Cora Day, so it was mighty, it was great. And but like, they were just so lovely and so welcoming. Like, I couldn't have asked for a nicer group of teammates to travel over to, because, I was going over kind of a bit blind, but I suppose, look, thankfully I had Cork and Cork Og as well. It's great. Baby is a great old icebreaker as well, so I kind of throw him in the mix first, and then like made great friends out of him, so it was great.
Definitely, yeah. There was a lovely video actually, I'd noted down here. I think you were doing laps at one stage of the pitch, and one of your teammates brought him over and kind of gave you a high five. It must have been really nice to have him there and have the support with you.
Yeah, and I suppose, look, he was at absolutely every single training session with me. That was just how we wanted it to be. And Cork was at every single training session as well. And Cork actually went on. He was doing water for the team for the whole season. Which was brilliant. Sure, come here. Towards the end, we were traveling to matches, and it was like, oh, Bríd, you can actually come to the match if you want to as well, because Cork is down on our list. I was like, oh, sound, lads, sound. Yeah, I'll tag along there.
You could be his plus one.
Yeah, I was his plus one, like. But so like, he was at every single training session, and I suppose that one was a really significant one, because it was one I had kind of gotten. I was getting back to running at a good pace, which was super. And I suppose the big thing was that there was such a great I suppose like a team, the background team. There was such a great background team there that they used to often mind Cork Og and go play with him to allow myself and Cork to do the runs, because Cork I suppose he, in fairness to him, like, he didn't like seeing me going off doing runs on my own, and he used to always join in with me, and that would be like to either push me a little bit harder or to kind of support me if I was probably having just a tough day every now and again. So that day was lovely, because when we were just finishing our lap, small man ran out and gave us a high five, so it was fab. Like, it was just it was a great moment, yeah.
When you went to Australia, you're on a career break at the moment, but you mentioned your business. I heard you speak about it before, that you identified similar characteristics between sport and business. What are those characteristics?
I suppose first and foremost, you must park the ego. That's a massive thing anyway with business. And I suppose, look, I'm still learning. Like, we're only 5 years probably in existence now. And I'm still learning every single day. It is very much a slow burner. So you have to have massive patience with business. And you have to have massive flexibility. And I suppose, like I said about ego, you have to be very, very humble to kind of, I suppose, you go through patches where you take a hit. You go through patches where you see maybe people that that are buying stuff, but they're not buying it from you, and it's not, you have to take it on the chin a little bit, and that's all part of it. Like, you definitely have to be a little bit kind of tougher skin in business, and I definitely think a lot of resilience, a lot of flexibility, adaptability, and definitely humility is very, very important, as well as massive hard work. Like, it's huge hard work, but it's very, very rewarding, just like sport is.
through your whole career, sport, business, Gaelic football, AFLW, I'm interested to hear, what is your definition of success?
Success is contentment and happiness. Definitely. Like obviously we had super wins, but like I've said it before, like there was a time I didn't know where any one of my medals were. Like it didn't come down to how many medals I had in my back pocket. It came down to the friendship and the friends that I had going forward, and the friends that I will have long after, you know, we're all riddled with arthritis and can't, you know, run the length of ourselves. Those friends are what I will always turn to, and they're the memories that I will have and hold dear for many years to come. So yes, medals and I suppose trips away and events and things like that, they're all lovely, but the cold hard facts of it are that, you know, you have memories and friendships that will never ever be taken from you. So there, yeah, it's just that's success for me, contentment and just happiness.
Brilliant. You spoke about there the friendships and the memories. Is that maybe one of the biggest lessons you've learned from sport, is that value of human connection?
Yeah, 100%. And like I think we all saw last year when the GA was taken away from a lot of people, especially a lot of the younger people, how, you know, how people could struggle and how people need that human connection and need, like I said about Eamon, you know, you need that place where you can park kind of your troubles for a little bit and go out and just be free and carefree and kick around the ball and run the legs off yourself and forget about everything for an hour. And I just think that's so important. And yeah, there is a real sense, I think, as well, like obviously we're a bit older now, but I think for younger people, there's a massive sense of belonging as well that attaches to sport. So I just think long may it continue and long may people be involved in sport. And I think we'll never take it for granted after last year, you know?
Yeah, absolutely not. If I could go back in time and meet a young Bríd Stack and I told her that you're going to achieve all of these amazing accomplishments and everything, what would she say to me?
Young Bríd Stack would probably be with her head down on an ironing board ironing her hair. So I would tell her to stop ironing her hair. I would also tell her in the off season to do not mix your drinks because you will make a holy show of yourself. But I suppose the biggest thing I would tell a younger Bríd Stack is to trust your gut like you do now. Definitely trust your gut, be it in anything, you know, be it if you're not happy with the people that you're surrounding yourself, if something feels off, then it probably is. You know, if you don't feel that you can trust people around you, then they're probably not the people for you. And yeah, I would always just say trust your gut in anything. Your first instinct is probably the right instinct going forward. So yeah.
Brilliant. Looking forward, what's the plan? Where do you kind of see yourself over the next couple of years? What's the future really looking like?
The future, I hope there's plenty of happiness and plenty of contentment going forward. I hope that I've decided to go back to Australia, so I hope that, you know, next year is, I suppose I'm not chasing it as much as I was this year or last year. So hopefully I avoid injury, but sure, you never know. The body could blow up a couple of weeks into it, but we'll hope not. But yeah, I suppose I just hope for enjoyment and contentment and look, hopefully extend the family. And then I look forward to the middle-aged spread, so it'll be great.
You mentioned there AFLW, you're going to go back. What do you think you bring to the team as like a previous ladies footballer, as a leader? And I know you previously worked with some of the younger players at the end of last season.
Yeah, sure. Look, I suppose I've got a good 10 years on a lot of the girls over, so you would hope that I would have a little bit more probably resilience. Probably I definitely feel I have a bit more of that, especially after last year. I feel last year was brilliant in terms of I learned a lot about myself and things that I would probably want to improve on and things that I was proud of myself for. So last year was a real learning curve as well as I suppose a great experience. But yeah, like I suppose I would hope that I would bring maybe a good bit of mindset to the camp. I definitely try to bring a bit of encouragement and a bit of bubbliness as well to the camp, and just suppose try not to take things too seriously as well and try to enjoy things as we go.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. So we're going to finish off with the sideline 7. It's the same 7 questions at the end of every episode. Question 1, what is your favourite quote?
You touched on a couple of them. I definitely have a couple of favorite quotes. Probably my favorite is, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. I definitely feel like that I have worked extremely hard for everything that I have currently in my life. So I definitely think hard work is vitally important. And actually, another one of my quotes or favorite quotes is like, hard work will put you where the good luck can find you. So I definitely think, look, there's a lot of people out there that feel like that they have to work extremely hard for everything in life. I definitely feel like I'm one of those people, but that's grand too. There's a lot of people that get the rub of the green and get, a lot of things handed to them. But I definitely think the harder you work for something, the more you enjoy it, and the more you appreciate it. So yeah, those are probably my two favorite quotes.
Question 2, best sporting event you've been to?
So I've been to a good shot of like brilliant GA matches and All-Ireland finals and things like that. But I was actually thinking, we went to this tennis, the Miami Open, actually in 2015. After we won the All-Ireland, we went to Miami, the Cork team. So we said we'd organise it because we said, look, we're definitely not going to get any luckier with this. This has to be a big hurrah kind of holiday, Yeah. So we said we go to Miami and we go on a cruise as well. So while we were in Miami, we went all out. We were like, this is it now, lads, we're gone. Like, we're never going to win another All-Ireland. Like, let's just live it up and get like really fat and like just live the dream, So it was great. So when we were in Miami, we got tickets to the Miami Open. Like we had some notions. Like, we were like, yeah, we're going watching Djokovic. We're going to watch Serena Williams. So we went and watched Djokovic and Serena. I couldn't even tell you who Djokovic was playing, but at the very end of the game, Djokovic got 3 balls and signed them and started like belting them up into the crowd. So we were on a fairly high tier now. And we were saying, there's no way. And we were kind of scattered in a few different parts of the upper tier. And next thing you know, the second ball anyway went flying over to a tier to our left anyway. We were like, no way, he wanted it here. Next thing, anyway, it started he hit the third one and it got some serious traction and it was coming and it was spiraling towards us. And Cork was standing beside me and Cork was like, geez, this is coming straight for us. And it landed, it came down like just in front of us and Cork reached over, nearly took out a 10-year-old boy and nearly turned him out over the top of the tier and caught the ball in his hand and went like, way, like this. And all you could see was the Cork girls and all the other tiers going, way. Like, sure, we were singing da 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 for the whole night. So yeah, so we still have a ball signed by Djokovic in our sitting room, and it is the greatest story. Like, we had the greatest night ever, like with Djokovic's ball as like center stage. So that was my day.
That's brilliant. The poor 10-year-old.
Yeah. Oh, come here. We don't even know. Like, he probably twisted his ankle and everything, but Cork creamed him, like absolutely creamed him. But church was great.
Oh, brilliant. Biggest setback or challenge so far in your career?
Sure. Look, I suppose last year was definitely the biggest setback. When you go out and you train extremely hard, you don't expect something like that to happen. But look, that was it. And I had to learn how to be adaptive and flexible to things. And as I said, I learned a lot about myself. So I definitely found that year was massive in terms of learning. But yeah, it was probably my biggest setback. Definitely to date.
Yeah. Kind of on the flip side then, a bit more positive, your biggest achievement on or off the pitch?
Biggest achievement off the pitch, definitely my son. He just lights up our days, and the fact he's talking now and he is just hilarious. Like, we just think he's the funniest thing in the world. So he just lights up our days, and there's not a sporting event in the world that would be better than just waking up to him every morning. So he's definitely my greatest achievement.
Brilliant. Advice to your 18-year-old self? I know we kind of touched on this a little bit already.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The hair.
Yeah, those two nuggets. Yeah, hair. Don't mix drinks. And the biggest thing is trust your gut. And I think, that's something that you do, not even as an 18-year-old, you do it going through your life. But I suppose as an 18-year-old, you probably are a little bit more unsure yourself. But I would definitely say trust your gut. And I suppose when you're 18, you want everyone to like you and you want to be friends with absolutely everyone, but not everyone is for you, and it's important to trust your gut. And if you don't feel comfortable in a situation or around people, they're probably not for you, so.
Dream dinner guest and why?
Well, I'm going meeting up with all the girls this weekend, so that is a dream dinner date, so I'm delighted with that. So like, I just, it has to be someone funny. Like I couldn't imagine going to a dinner date and talking politics or talking right. So it'd have to be crack. But I'm binge listening to Joanne McNally's and Vogue Williams podcasts at the moment.
Yeah.
I think they're hilarious. So definitely probably the two of them. Like, Joanne McNally cracks me up. Like she's outstanding. So yeah, we'll throw that to them.
What would you get for dinner now? That's the most important question.
A bag of chips, I'd say no, and a couple of burgers and a bag of chips. I'd say that could be it, like nice. Dino special.
Yeah. Final question before I let you go. If your life was a book, what chapter would this be called?
I'm going to say that this would probably be called Intermission. So I definitely think like the best part of the play is always in the second half. So I'm hoping that, the years that follow, that especially probably this year coming, that it is full of happiness and good experiences. I'd love to extend our family, and my sister got engaged actually last week. So plenty of great things to look forward to in the second half, hopefully.
Brilliant. Look, Bríd, I just want to thank you so much for your time. I know you're really busy. I just want to wish you the very best of luck next year, and just thanks again for everything.
No bother. Thanks, Orla.
A massive thank you to Bríd for joining me today. I just want to wish her the very best of luck moving forward. If you did enjoy the episode, be sure to let me know over on Instagram or Twitter at The Sideline Live. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, I'd really appreciate if you could leave a rating and a review, as it helps the show grow. Or if you're interested in starting up your own podcast, get in touch with the Primal Productions team over on Instagram at Primal Pro.